We also got Batman Begins this year.
Which I don't think people necessarily realized at the time how important that movie would be. But it's interesting that both that and Sin City came out in the same year. They're both literally dark movies.
Yeah.
You know, it was a big change for comic book movies.
I was 8, I guess, when Tim Burton's Batman came out. I'd watched the Adam West stuff on Nick at Night reruns as a kid.
Sure.
And I became obsessed with Batman when the Tim Burton movies came out.
Yeah.
And then to have Schumacher come in and genuinely ruin I know this history of awesome, but just to establish the context, he ruined the franchise.
Yeah.
It was done. I mean, I remember when George Clooney pulls out the Batman MasterCard and says, "Don't leave the Batcave without it." I literally wanted to leave the theater, and then that was it. The franchise was done for a number of years. There were rumors that Aronofsky was going to make Batman Year One.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a brief rumor of a Batman Beyond live action adaptation, but we ended up eventually getting the Christopher Nolan Batman Begins, and I remember seeing it, and the fans wanted Christian Bale cast as Bruce Wayne Batman. Got it, and that when I saw it, I couldn't go back and watch even the original Tim Burton '89 Batman again, because this had Begins just replaced it. It was just so much a better take on Batman than I'd ever seen before.
This is not a silly Batman movie.
No, I mean that's the big thing that Batman is one of the biggest things on planet Earth right now. So it's hard to forget that in 2005 when this came out, Batman was so uncool, and this movie was a huge gamble and wasn't a guarantee at all that it was going to be a success. And it sort of set the stage for any number of the dark and gritty, to the point that it's almost become a trope now that everything gets a dark and gritty reboot. Yeah. But it wasn't a trope when Batman Begins did it. It was just a really risky, sort of bold film.
And it really, I feel like, grounded those movies a lot, and that is why so many other movies would try to copy that, but for better or worse. I don't know if people necessarily wanted Superman Returns to be the dark, gritty Superman story.
Yeah, sure.
But it worked, and it connected with people who maybe weren't comic book fans, but did want to see a good, serious movie. And these characters are iconic. They're our mythology.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was insane that they gave the keys to this kingdom to Christopher Nolan, who at the time he did Following and he did Memento, which Memento is incredible, but it's not one of those that guy should make a Batman movie kind of things. It was also Christian Bale's transformation in this movie was amazing because it came right off the heels of The Machinist, where he was like ostensibly dead.
He looked like me.
Yeah, he looked and then he bulked up and screen tested for this role and absolutely crushed it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was funny because both this and then the first Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man movie were the things that sort of set into motion everything that would go forward for both Marvel and DC.
Yeah,
do I look like a cop?
Yeah, I don't know about that Batman voice, but
the Batman voice is weird, especially when he uses it like
though.
around people who he's using it to Alfred, and Alfred's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I know who you are. I don't think the movie gets enough credit for actually being, pretty smart as far as just the way that it's scripted with Batman or Bruce Wayne sort of peeling back the criminal onion, and it starts with Falcone and then to Scarecrow and then eventually to the League of Shadows. In the climax of the movie, like sort of the escalation of the foes that he's tackling. I think that's escalation.
You never
I know.
And remember, he doesn't become Batman until 45 minutes into the movie too.
Yeah.
There was a build-up that happened in that film.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like the story, like Batman's origin story and doing comic book origin stories is so sort of played out now, but like the actual story of this rich kid experiencing a tragedy and then traveling all around the world to figure out how to sort of take back his city is good. Like that's a good, core story that at the time wasn't as tropey as maybe it is now.
Nice coat.
Yeah.
I could do
And if
this
you
all
look
day.
sort of at the color palette of both that and Sin City, I mean, we're used to very colorful, bright comic books, and that translated to the movies, but this is just it looks completely different than what we're used to.
It's also really good. I love the scene where he has to sort of be a douche. Like he has to be that playboy douche and what's
buys the hotel.
Yeah, and like Maggie Gyllenhaal, or not, I guess it wasn't Maggie Gyllenhaal. It was Katie Holmes in that one, and she's like, "What are you like? You're awful." And he's like, "Oh God, I gotta have to do this."
Yeah, it's one of the few examples of him showing, the sacrifices that he has to
that
make.
Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
That's what that movie does that the other movies didn't really do a very good job of.
Absolutely.